Yeah, I think it could be quite damaging, not least of all because we're only a matter of weeks away from a local election, Eamon. And this is a local election in which the Conservative Party is already expected to get a drubbing. And this is a Prime Minister who's tried to distance himself, if you like, over the last 6 months from previous Conservative Prime Ministers and their scandals. And yet here I am in Downing Street talking about Rishi Sunak potentially being involved in a scandal. Now, be in no doubt, Downing Street do deny any wrongdoing. They do insist that this declaration was made properly. It all seems to relate back to his appearance at the Liaison Committee last month. That is a committee of senior MPs who get to interrogate the Prime Minister every 6 months or so, and whether he was open and frank to MPs about his wife's shares in this childcare company, a childcare company that could benefit from some of the changes to the budget that Jeremy Hunt announced last month as well. As I say, though, Labour, while they accuse this of being a black hole of integrity, and the Liberal Democrats suggesting that the Prime Minister may well have bent the rules, Downing Street will cooperate with this inquiry, and they claim the Prime Minister will be exonerated. But as I say, it is not a good look for a Prime Minister hosting Cabinet this morning that this is on many of today's front newspapers.
What about Cabinet this morning? I mean, you're on Downing Street because in the next few minutes we'll start to see a few Secretaries of State walking along there, heading in for their weekly meeting with the Prime Minister. What do you think will be on the agenda? I mean, they'll be kicking themselves about this misstep from the Prime Minister, won't they? But they'll have their eyes on more serious things like what to do to solve the crisis with the strikes and also the situation with this British-Russian national getting that unprecedented sentence yesterday.
Yeah, there's no doubt, I think, that before the Easter break, and actually I was talking to MPs in Parliament last night, there was a sense that people were pretty chipper within the Conservative Party. You know, there was a sense with the Windsor framework, with that initial deal, at least with NHS workers, and with a closing in the polls that actually Rishi Sunak was starting to make an impact with the public, and that going into this election campaign, they may well be able to win some people over. And as I say, that has somewhat been dented this morning. There's little doubt about that. Though the Prime Minister would say, as you rightly point out, he needs to focus on kind of some of the key objectives of the government, trying to deal with the small boats crisis, trying to deal with those strike actions that are likely to plague the National Health Service and indeed other industries for weeks, maybe even months to come. But in the end, it is that damage to the Conservative brand that I think is most concerning for the party. There are a lot of people who feel that it is time for change. In saying that, Rishi Sunak is hoping, as I say, to turn that tanker around. This scandal is just not going to help that cause.